My Happy Marriage is turning out to be quite an interesting series within the shoujo genre, pulling off the impressive feat of garnering the attention of the seinen viewership and balancing emotional beats with action quite admirably. We're starting off this new arc with a bang. Literally, the seal on the graves of the gifted has been broken, releasing all kinds of grotesqueries out into the world, and it falls to Kiyoka and his men to deal with the cleanup. While he is busy with the Emperor's son, bossing around the Tatsuishi's new head of household, fighting off monsters and handling pesky newcomers that give off all kinds of icky vibes, he is also working behind the scenes to find the secretive Usuba clan in an effort to get to the bottom of Miyo's relentless nightmares. Meanwhile, Miyo is on her own personal quest to become a proper lady, making steady progress thanks to Hozuki. It's challenging work, and she's doing everything she can to power through the constant exhaustion that comes from not getting enough sleep due to the nightmares that plague her every night. However, during an outing in the city, she almost collapses from heat and exhaustion, only to be saved from falling by a stranger who, creepily enough, calls her by name. Yuck, that Arata guy is bad news, I know it. My animal instincts make me hiss and recoil whenever I see him. However, like all of you who haven't read the light novel, I am also at a loss about what his endgame is. Because you see, I decided that I wouldn't read Volume 2 or read the manga after finishing the light novel Volume 1. So yeah, this is uncharted waters for me as well. But let's start with his scenes from back when he first appeared, to try to make sense of this all. In episode 6, the Emperor is ranting on and on about how the Kudo now has gotten hold of the Usuba bloodline, while Arata tells him that it is time and asks the Emperor for his permission and to grant them the request to, quote-unquote, put things back where they belong. The Emperor gives his permission and says, "You must destroy the accumulation of power no matter what." This kicks off their operation, and given all that we know after episode 8, I'm pretty sure the accumulation of power is the place where all the gifted have been buried, and that the Emperor's men are the ones responsible for it, with Arata being part of the plan. As to what Arata hopes to put back where it belongs, I'm guessing it's Miyo, since he appears in episode 7 soon after the news came out that the grave was unsealed. "The time is come," he says smiling, "I'm coming to get you, Miyo." So in episode 8, Arata shows up as an envoy of sorts, an intermediary between the anti-grotesquerie unit and the Ministry of the Imperial Household. But right off the bat, he comes off as aggressive, immediately bringing up Kiyoka's cold character and his bad reputation with women. It seems that he is making use of an official meeting to deal with whatever personal business he has with Kiyoka, and it's great to see that Kiyoka never rises up for the bait and remains in control of the situation. There was an additional anime-only scene with Arata where he is looking up at a flowering tree. He touches it and says, "It is almost time, finally," while another man nearby says, "The signs are already there, the awakening will be soon." Hold up, I'm making some connections here, so just bear with me a little. First off, it's the middle of the sweltering summer. It's well past time for any tree, be it cherry tree, plum tree, apple tree, whatever tree, to bloom. This tree must be magical, and if Miyo keeps having nightmares, and if that's a sign of her latent powers awakening, and if these people who I am assuming know about her and are probably Yusubas, and if they can tell that her powers are awakening just by the way the tree is flowering, then does that mean that the tree is in fact connected to Miyo in some way, making it her tree in the way that Sumi Saimori had her own tree? The light novel says that Sumi's cherry tree withered and was cut down soon after she died. Additionally, if Sumi's tree was planted when she married into the Saimoris, it just makes no sense that it would grow so big and so quickly in the few years it took to have Miyo before she passed away, when Miyo was still an infant. The stump it would have left behind would have been tiny. Now, this raises up many other questions about the tree, about Miyo, and how in her dreams Miyo always sees her mother standing next to a flowering cherry tree. even about the shock that Miyo felt when she touched the stump that remained back in episode 7. But since I am only guessing here, I don't want to say any more for fear I'll embarrass myself and get it all wrong. I probably am overthinking it, so I'll just let the anime answer all those questions in time. Speaking of anime-only scenes like this one, all the scenes with Kiyoka and his men up in the mountains, investigating the scene of the crime, and also fighting off those grotesqueries, they're all anime-only. I guess it's necessary to add action scenes to keep the seinen viewers happy. I honestly don't care for scary stuff and wish they hadn't included them. Also, when Hozuki is trying to get Miyo to work on a social smile, she tells Miyo a story about how she and Kiyoka were in a cafe and he didn't want anything sweet but asked her to give him her pickles. This makes Miyo smile at last. Whereas in the light novel, Hozuki simply tells Miyo to think back to a time when she actually smiled. In the manga, Hozuki tells her to think about a person that would make her smile, and Miyo thinks of Kiyoka and smiles so sweetly that Hozuki gasps and tells her that she would be better off imagining that she's smiling at Yurie, not Kiyoka, just to avoid others pestering her. And speaking of manga and light novel extras that weren't included in the anime, I have terrible news, you guys. With this episode, we have run out of officially released manga. The next volume comes out on September 12th, which is less than a month away, so for now we'll just have to make do with what we have. Now, there really aren't too many differences between the light novel and anime in this episode, nor were there many things left out. The very first thing that I noticed though was how Takahito's character design was so different from the one in the manga. While watching this with a friend, I remarked how the prince looked so different from what I expected, while my friend was actually surprised that it wasn't a woman. Takahito is just that pretty. Too pretty if you ask me, because then I won't know who to simp for if this keeps up. Now, I do enjoy how the anime presented Miyo's training with Hozuki. The manga never showed Miyo learning to walk and move using westerner clothes and shoes. Miyo always wore her regular kimono whenever Hozuki came to tutor her. But it makes sense that she would need to learn things that in our globalized day and age, we would consider absolutely normal, such as using cutlery instead of chopsticks. Additionally, wearing a kimono and walking using 𝙏𝙝𝙠 totally changes the way one stands or sits, as the center of gravity shifts thanks to the obi, and the way our posture changes with how it supports the upper body. So seeing Miyo walk robotically at first, trying to adjust to her new clothes, was an adorable little detail, and the fact that she can walk around town using short heels is impressive as well. Finally, on her trip out to the city with Hozuki and Yurie, they don't just take a desultory walk down the street. Miyo actually has a mission, and that is to converse with strangers, so she made sure to enter the shops to greet and talk to the people working there. Finally, when she almost collapses in the streets, Arata never calls her out by name, nor does he call her my dear, like he does in the English dub. It sucks that for a moment Miyo thought that it was Kiyoka who was holding her, only to find that it's another man. The gall, the gumption, the effrontery of him putting his dirty paws on her, wanting to take Miyo away from her true love. I won't stand for it. Kiyoka, hurry up and come back from incinerating those ghosties, and come snatch Miyo away from this fool. Please show no more suffering. All we want is for our two lovebirds to be disgustingly happy together. Is that too much to ask? Now, what did you all think of this episode? Am I the only one that got icky vibes from Arata? Now that he's got his hands on her, what do you think this guy is going to do with Miyo? If he turns out to be an Usuba, do you think he stands a chance against Kiyoka's impressive powers? If you're a light novel reader, first off, no spoilers, and second, what are some of the things I did not include from the books that I should have mentioned? And so, it's back to waiting for the next episode. The wait feels eternal, but never fear, I'll be back next week. Until then, bye bye.